How's it going, everybody? My name is The Starks, and welcome to another Last of Us video.
Hello everybody, I'm Joe from Seattle and welcome to another response video. You're welcome for not starting my videos like that, by the way. Just saying, you're welcome.
Well, it's finally been announced. The Last of Us Part 1 remake is coming to PC on March of 2023.
See, the video could have just started with that. You didn't have to say who you were. Anyways.
At the Game Awards, which was on December 8th of 2022, The Last of Us Part 1 was officially announced to be coming to PC on March 3rd, 2023.
Which is actually my birthday, which feels weirdly personal. I know this is just a big coincidence. It just feels like the kind of thing that happens before someone, leaves in my passenger seat. Or, I find it on my nightstand at 2 in the morning, you know?
With a trailer, a dramatic trailer at that.
If it's from Naughty Dog, you don't really need to tell us that it was dramatic.
For the Naughty Dog remake. It's worth mentioning that the site says on Game Rant, however, that the footage in the teaser has been captured from the PlayStation 5 version of the game, so it remains to be seen as to what the PC port will actually look like.
Which is a tad strange, but I guess not that weird. I figured they'd want to take the opportunity to show off this game running on PC, but if the port is still 2 months out, I guess it makes sense they're sitting on the footage.
That said, many will no doubt be excited for another system besides PlayStation. Will be getting this new iteration of The Last of Us. On Twitter, on the Naughty Dog Info Twitter page, who I do follow here.
I mean, we could have gathered that.
They post a lot of news and information regarding Naughty Dog specifically. And they state that some info about The Last of Us Part 1 on PC. It's going to cost $60 USD, which in comparison to the PlayStation 5 version is going to be $10 cheaper.
Can't imagine why it's cheaper on PC. It's almost like it's easier to get away with things when you own the platform you're forcing people to play on.
It's also being developed in-house by Naughty Dog, unlike other PlayStation quote-unquote exclusive.
Which could go either way, in my opinion. Naughty Dog doesn't exactly have much experience developing for PC, so hopefully they don't cut corners with the port the way they cut corners with their game design.
PC ports. It's also going to be available on Steam as well as Epic Games Store, and a Steam Deck compatibility feature is also included for this PC port.
That's a really weird way to say it runs on Steam Deck.
Which is actually pretty cool. I saw Neil Druckmann, who's now I think the vice president at Naughty Dog, former creative director of The Last of Us 2013. He quote tweeted a Steam Deck, and somebody was saying it'll be cool to see The Last of Us on this or something like that.
I made a video about all this, by the way. Go watch it if you want.
And I'm not going to lie, it would look really cool to see The Last of Us on some form of PlayStation Portable or PlayStation Vita or another form of PlayStation handheld.
It's cool that it has Steam Deck support, but it would be cooler for PlayStation Vita. Gee, I wonder what direction this video is going in. Did you guys hear that? That was Bonnie. Oh, it's Bonnie. Yeah, it's Bonnie. It's Bonnie. But wasn't Last of Us playable on the Vita somehow? Like on PS Now or something? It's just a huge missed opportunity if they never put this game on Vita.
But unfortunately, that's not going to be the reality anytime soon. I doubt PlayStation will ever release another handheld.
You never know. Steam Deck's success may actually be what Sony needed to see in order to be motivated to make another high-tech handheld gaming platform. Or maybe that's why they're putting more money into PC ports. I don't know. I'm really just trying to banter until he gets to the really stupid stuff in this video. Stick with it, because this video just gets really stupid later.
But yeah, I mean, it's official. The Last of Us Part 1 coming to PC. I think that was announced a while back. I've been on the fence regarding Sony quote-unquote exclusives going on PC for a long time now, over a year.
Fact check, true. This video I made a while back was actually a response to that Uncharted video, coincidentally. I completely forgot about that until just now. But I went back and rewatched it, and you said some weird shit in that video. Like how Sony's already made enough money and is greedy for wanting to do PC ports, and how PC ports are going to be the downfall of the company. That kind of weird.
As this shift in their culture is kind of they're adapting to a new market or a wave of PC gamers, because they understand that the market is large and that there's a lot of people that play on PC, and if they can double dip and get more money, why not, right? I mean, they're a multi-billion-dollar corporation. Why not get more money?
You say it in a snarky tone of voice, but you're correct about this. If you're Sony in this situation and you're watching the PC gaming market grow and grow, why not double dip and start releasing your games over there as well? The console and PC markets are very distinct from one another, and while there is some overlap, and people do make the switch from one to the other, typically only in one direction. So if you're Sony and you're seeing all of that, and you have this lineup of critically acclaimed games, why not release them on PC? Especially since Microsoft has been doing that very thing and is slowly but surely establishing themselves as a pretty favorable company in the eyes of PC gamers, which they're going to be able to get a lot of mileage out of. Just by releasing a handful of PC ports, Sony has also gotten a ton of new fans in the PC world, and that's going to be super valuable going forward. You see how cool things can happen when big publishers and big corporations actually compete for the customer's dollar?
So that's cool. But yeah, I mean, it's gonna happen next year, March 2023. I think for me though, as a fan of the brand PlayStation and a fan of what they do, is that,
I mean, at least you're honest about being just a fan of the brand. Fucking 10-yard penalty for not seeing the problem with that though.
The Last of Us Part 1 remake released in September of 2022. March is within it's less than a year. It's within 6 months of a PlayStation 5 exclusive video game.
Yeah, a 6-month wait is pretty quick, all things considered. Not sure how this is news to you, though. Forspoken is launching on the PC, and that's been known for a long time. Death Stranding only had an 8-month wait between the PS4 and PC launches. Sony's also just been teeing this up for a long time. Remember that whole slate of PlayStation games coming to PC? And that was almost 2 years ago that they said that. So this really shouldn't be a surprise anymore.
Actually, it might not just be PlayStation 5. Actually, it is PlayStation 5. Or I don't think the remake could be playable on PlayStation 4. I didn't do my research on that. I don't have a PlayStation 4 anymore, or I do, but I don't play it.
What the fuck did any of that mean? Okay, let's take this piece by piece.
Actually, it might not just be PlayStation 5. Actually, it is PlayStation 5. Or I don't think the remake could be playable on PlayStation 4.
Correct. The remake is not playable on PS4, because remaking a game from the last console generation is a stupid fucking idea.
That one didn't age quite so well.
I didn't do my research on that. I don't have a PlayStation 4 anymore, or I do, but I don't play it.
You don't have a PlayStation 4, but you do have a PlayStation 4, but you don't play your PlayStation 4, so it doesn't count as having a PlayStation 4.
I understand.
So I actually don't know if the remake is on PS4, but I don't believe it is.
How are you aware of the PC port's exact release date, but not aware of whether or not it's on the PS4? Like, genuinely, how do you only have some of that information on hand?
Point is, 6 months after the release of a Last of Us remake of a first party PlayStation game going on PC 6 months later.
Little side note, I was genuinely having trouble determining if his gameplay was from the PS4 or PS5. Like, no joke, I genuinely couldn't tell until like just now which version of the game he was playing.
I thought Herman Holst, I'm pretty sure he said, yeah, we're gonna wait a year. We're gonna wait a year. PlayStation, they said they were going to wait a year, and they're not waiting a year. They want their money. They want more money.
In case you didn't know what he's talking about, I believe he's referring to this interview that Herman Holst did a few months ago where he suggested PlayStation exclusives would have at least a year on the consoles before coming to the PC. Although, to his credit, he did leave it somewhat open-ended. But as for The Last of Us Part 1, I think the thought process there was the fact that it was a remake, so it was harder to justify holding on to it for longer than its actual window of relevance. But even still, that doesn't take away from the fact that games like Forspoken are launching day and date on PC and PlayStation 5. Granted, that's not a PlayStation Studios game, but it's still something Sony absolutely could have put their foot down on if they really wanted to. You know, if they were really dedicated to this whole 1 year wait period.
They're just greedy. And I've said this in the past, as a fan of the PlayStation brand, I do not, and I seriously mean this, I do not believe that releasing and launching, producing these otherwise first party exclusive video games, releasing them on PlayStation consoles, only to have them released within 6 to 12 months of their launch on another platform, that being PC, which by the way is supported by their competitors, Microsoft, is absolutely fucking wild.
Now, I let that one run for a while, so I'll give you a second to clean off the vomit.
What do I do?
But let's take this apart a little bit. You say it's greedy for Sony to bring their first-party games to other platforms 6 months after launch. You also say you're a fan of the PlayStation brand, though, which seems completely backwards. Releasing games on other platforms is an objectively good thing for your market. Not only do you get a ton of additional revenue from the games, but you also expand your installed user base. PlayStation's player base is no longer limited to Sony hardware. There is now a passionate community for PlayStation Studios games on the PC thanks to these ports. And a lot of these people were never going to buy a PlayStation in the first place. That's the important thing you need to take away from this. Expanding the audience like this is an objectively good business decision. Not to keep referencing my other videos like a fucking super shill, but I talked about this topic in depth in this video. And I go into things like the profits and the actual numbers on these PC ports and the revenue. I'm trying to keep this video moving along at a decent pace since the really bad stuff is still on the way. So if you want more of a source for all the stuff I just went on a tangent for, I'll just direct you to this video, and now we can just keep moving forward.
And I don't think there's enough convincing or online bullying people can do to make me think otherwise.
Remember that. If you disagree with him or counter his beliefs, it's bullying.
There just isn't. And I say bullying because, my past Uncharted 4 video, I got a bunch of ridiculous comments, which, by the way, I will not be entertaining in this video.
Well, you said really weird things, and the majority of people who watched the video were not in agreement. You could have done some self-reflection at that point, but here we are.
I think there's a respectful way to speak to people, and the internet shies away from that concept for some reason. They just like to pick on people and make fun, and I'm not going to entertain that in any of my comments. So
hell yeah, fighting the good fight, bro. As you completely mischaracterize an entire group of people and then accuse them of bullying. I love the internet. YouTube is awesome.
There are people that are upset that I have this opinion. I suggest you say something nice or respectful at least, because otherwise it'll be flagged and you'll be blocked from ever commenting on my channel. Be
nice or you're going to be flagged and blocked. Don't worry guys, I'm the bigger person here. No need to look into the actual reason my last video got so much backlash. It was bullying, I promise. Moving on. I think there's people who are encouraging this, and that's okay. I have no issue with these people who are fine with these PlayStation games going on PC. I have no issue with people playing video games. No issue at all. But I understand and value Nintendo and Xbox and PlayStation and the brands. Nobody's saying you can't appreciate the companies and the experiences they've given you throughout the years, but what you're talking about is simple anti-consumerism. The three companies can compete without trying to out-shady each other, which is kind of what the last console generation started out as. By making their franchises more accessible, Sony is actually making themselves more likely to attract people to the PlayStation brand and expand the user base. I'm really, really struggling to see how this devalues the brand in any way.
Okay, just as I do Adidas or Nike or Walmart and Amazon, these are brands, okay?
Ironic that you bring up Adidas because you can buy Adidas shoes from like a million different places. And perhaps that's a contributing factor to them being so successful.
And I think that's what people aren't understanding. It's like, imagine, Nintendo releases an otherwise first-party exclusive game like Breath of the Wild, and 6 months later or 6 to a year later, it's going on PC. And I know people are going to argue with me about the fact that The Last of Us is a 2013 IP.
Yeah, that does kind of destroy your whole argument, huh? Like, the game is a decade old. It's kind of really hard to justify treating it like some kind of new masterpiece just because it's the old one, but a little fancier.
That's true. It launched almost a decade ago. Next year will mark 10 years since the launch of The Last of Us on PlayStation 3. But The Last of Us remake is not a 2013 game. It is a video game that Naughty Dog took the dedication and time to remake.
There's the classic, it's worth it because Naughty Dog did it. Like, seriously, how many times have you heard criticism of a Naughty Dog product only to have someone then swoop in and defend it because, oh, Naughty Dog tried really hard? Or something like I swear, this studio gets more blind defense than anyone else in gaming. It's bizarre. Like, if I told you Cyberpunk shouldn't be criticized because CD Projekt Red tried really hard, you would rightfully throw me out a window.
Which, by the way, I was also not encouraging because I didn't think we need a remake. Sure, now that I've played it, it's wonderful and I like it, and it's everything that matches The Last of Us Part 2, which is what they were aiming for.
Yeah, it matches The Last of Us 2, except in the pricing and the combat options and the fact that it removed features from the original Last of Us. But that one, I guess we're not allowed to criticize because Last of Us 2 already removed those features. Aren't $70 remakes fun?
But I still don't think it was necessary at all. I think they could have spent the resources a little bit more effectively, which I imagine they are with The Last of Us Factions and this supposed new IP, and perhaps even an Uncharted reboot or remake, which I don't think Naughty Dog is even working on anyway.
So you don't think the remake should have existed, you really don't think it was necessary, and yet you still think it should be preserved on one platform for the sake of the brand. All because there's a Sony logo on the box. Amazing.
But that The Last of Us Part 1 remake is a new video game that they graphical upgrades and gameplay improvements and everything else named in The Last of Us Part 1 remake description on Google, which you can clearly find on the internet.
Thanks for describing what The Last of Us Part 1 is. Graphical update, gameplay improvements, and everything else. $70 please, thanks. And you're just fine with it. Like, at this point, I don't even want the fucking thing on PC. Whatever it is about this game that makes people act so fucking entitled, I just don't want it on my platform. Like we're fine without this one.
Is that it released in September on the PlayStation 5 console, and 6 months later, in March of 2023, it is releasing on PC.
7.5 minutes into the video, and we're still saying the same thing we were saying at the start. This is what we call a bad video.
I'm sorry to tell you guys, but that's ridiculous. And I'm speaking specifically to people, console owners. I'm not talking to the PC guys.
Well, that's awkward because we're still listening.
Because they don't understand the way console operates.
Yeah, no, it's not like most of us came from consoles. It's not like any of us are paying attention to the state of the industry and trying to keep stuff from your side of the playground from coming over here. Stuff like, $70 games? ?
But I've said this in the past with my Uncharted 4 video, it may in fact devalue the brand. I'm not talking about financials here and the economics within a multi-billion-dollar corporation. If they think releasing video games on PC is going to generate more money, which it is for them, and the studios involved, good for them.
Okay, then what is your argument? Like, literally, what is it? You admit that releasing games on PC makes them more money. Literally, what reason do you have for Sony to stop doing the thing that makes them more money? Like, truly, what is your argument? If we agree that Sony's making more money from it, truly, what is your argument against it? If they're making more money, the brand isn't being devalued.
Absolutely. I mean, great. But I'm not talking about financials. I'm a consumer, and I'm talking about the brand. I bought a PlayStation 5 to support the brand.
So, in your eyes, Sony giving the consumer more options to play their games is actually something being done to your detriment. Because you wanted to support the brand. Not the games, the brand. I mean, at least you're being honest about it, but holy shit.
The video games in which they're making for the brand, the features in which are present in the PlayStation 5 because of the brand. It's a brand. Everything is a brand.
No, the PlayStation 5 is a console. PlayStation is the brand.
So it's just hilarious to me that specifically people on Twitter, on YouTube, comment sections, and elsewhere.
Why did you say specifically if you were just going to list literally every option?
Are calling people who like myself who have this opinion, which by the way is a minority, I will admit.
If only you could figure out why that is.
Is that we're upset that we don't want people to play video games and all this other ridiculous nonsense. I mean, no. I mean, let's be real here.
You are passionately against the idea of putting Last of Us Part 1 on PC, but you are not against people playing video games. Let's see how you talk yourself out of this one.
I think with 6 months after the release of a PlayStation exclusive, first party exclusive game going on PC is just it's just unfathomable to me. It's just I can't understand it. I don't understand it.
Well, don't look now, but they're doing more of it.
But then I kind of do. Like I said, PlayStation is a Sony specifically is a multi-billion-dollar company, and I think they're gearing up for The Last of Us Factions. I think this is going to be the norm, that PlayStation games are going to go on PC.
And if that's the case, it's likely going to launch on PC and PlayStation at the same time, which I'm not totally sure the Sony faithful are mentally prepared for. That big Last of Us multiplayer game you've been waiting for may end up being multi-platform on day one, and I just hope you're prepared for that.
I've already accepted it. There's not much I can do to not accept it. There isn't anything I can do to accept it. I have to accept it. And I will, and I have been.
Are you sure?
That doesn't mean I can't voice my concerns and opinions, which I will always do, especially as a fan of the brand PlayStation as well as a fan of Naughty Dog.
So, You haven't accepted it.
But something that I think PlayStation is gearing up for, specifically Naughty Dog, is The Last of Us Factions, which I don't believe is going to be a PlayStation-only video game.
Most likely not. Sony has made it pretty clear that live service games are going to be treated as multi-platform experiences for the most part. We already saw that with that fucking god-awful Predator game that everyone forgets about. And since Last of Us Factions is going to be a live service game, you can connect the dots yourself here.
I think The Last of Us Factions, this ambitious multiplayer title that they're working so beautifully on.
You literally haven't seen it yet, so I'm not sure where you're getting any of that from. Other than the fact that Naughty Dog is working hard on it. Remember what I said earlier about Naughty Dog getting this defense more than anyone else in gaming?
Is that it's going to release simultaneously on PC, or maybe not simultaneously, but will eventually come maybe a month later onto PC. It's going to be like a PlayStation only for the first month and then PC.
Yeah, that sounds really dumb for the launch of a live service game. Like a game whose entire purpose is getting as many people on the servers as possible. Hey, let's kneecap our launch for absolutely no reason. Johnson, you're a genius.
Because I think it's going to be a great game, and I think that's what they want.
It's going to be a great game. That's what they want. But let's get really scared and concerned about the prospect of more people getting to experience it with you. You are such a nice dude. I don't know how you do it.
Is to have a lot of people play this video game, and obviously for the title to be successful.
Yeah, what a bummer, right?
But I'm obviously curious to know what everybody's thoughts and opinions regarding The Last of Us Part 1 remake. Did you play it? If so, how did you enjoy it? I know I played it. I haven't completed it, but I have played it.
I mean, you're only the biggest Sony apologist on YouTube, so why would you have actually played the game you're defending? Can you fucking imagine?
And I want to know what your guys' thoughts on The Last of Us Part 1 and other PlayStation first-party video games going on PC are. Like, do you agree with it? Do you think Sony should wait more than 6 months? Do you think they should wait less than 6 months? Do you think they should wait a year?
I would like Sony to go day and date, but what I think Sony will do is keep the gap to roughly 12 months depending on the title. Games like Ragnarok that are actually selling consoles are likely going to be more than 12 months, while games like Forspoken and Last of Us Part 1 that hardly anyone gives a shit about obviously get shorter waits. So basically a sliding scale from 12 months depending on the hype. Just one man's opinion.
Before putting these games on PC, do you think God of War Ragnarok should go on PC? Which, by the way, I think it will eventually.
No way it doesn't. Sony put the 2018 game on PC less than a year before Ragnarok launched. Like, there's a 0% chance Ragnarok does not get a PC port.
Let me know in the comment section below, of course. And I have been the Starks. Peace.
And I have been Joe from Seattle, and I hope we learned something today. Maybe something about Sony's PC ambitions, maybe something about how some people just don't want nice things, or maybe something about how I'm your new favorite channel, and that's a pretty cool thing to learn. So be sure to like and subscribe and hit that bell for the notification.